Hello Nippies, welcome back, and if you're new here, hi, hello, I'm Nips, a freelance artist, and today, there's a lot to unpack here. Today we are going to be working on some iPhone phone wallpaper illustrations of a K-pop group called NCT Dream, which is actually a subgroup of the main group, which is just called NCT, and some of you might recognize these because I posted 2 of them. That is because I only finished 2 of them. The other ones are unfinished. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm deciding to post it now and why the title says part 1. So when I started drawing these, it was May of last year, and NCT Dream had just come out with their album Reload and their title track Ride-In. And these drawings are the 6 members, excluding a 7th member, Mark, who was not there at the time. I was working on these pretty much like day to day, every day, and they took me quite some time, as you'll see from the length of this video, but I just could not muster up the energy or the time to finish them. And so the only 2 that I ever finished was Chunla and Jaemin. So you'll see them as it goes on. Those 2 are the only ones I finished. And the reason I put part 1 is in hopes that one day I will finish all of them and that will be part 2 of this video. Why am I posting it now? The reason I'm posting it now is because NCT Dream just came out with their first full album, and their title track, Hot Sauce, is amazing. I love the new album. I love the title track. I've already looped it God knows how many times. And if you haven't heard it, you should definitely go listen to it. It's super catchy. Lots of Latina inspiration and influence. I just love all of it. It's so catchy. And I've already started doing a new set of phone wallpapers with them in those, like in that aesthetic. And I'm like, girl, you haven't even finished these. Like, what are you doing? So the reason that I'm posting these right now is because the hot sauce ones aren't done, and I have this, so I might as well post them now until I have the hot sauce ones. And it's also kind of appropriate because it's like, it's still NCT Dream, you know, dream content, but just really old and outdated. So I don't know. Is it too late to finish these? Sometimes I wonder. I don't know. I have the same problem with 127, where I wanted to do something for Punch, like the repackaged album, because I really liked their outfits for that. And the only one I could do was Tade. So I did a really fast like phone wallpaper of him, but at the time I was so busy that I didn't have the time to do everyone else, especially since there's 9 members in that one. But it's one of those, like, is it ever too late to just go back and do them all for Punch, or maybe Kick It, any of the other comebacks? So I don't know, maybe even Resonance too. I don't know. I just really want to draw all of the NCT members, all 23 of them. So yeah, is it too late? Who knows? So here, the people that I am drawing, for those that don't know the members, are Haechan, Chunla here in the middle, Ranjan, Jisung, Jaemin, and Jeno. And you'll see that the one I start to finish the most and the quickest here is Chunla. One of the reasons that I was drawing him first, one was because I found him probably the easiest to do since he's facing forward, and I decided to just kind of keep going with him just to see what it would look like, more so like completed, because sometimes if you have at least one done, you have a better idea of where to take everything else. And one of the things that I struggle with when I draw other people is that I really want to capture their essence. Like, I really want you to be able to look at them and be like, ah, yeah, that's them. But not in a way that it looks like I'm copying a picture. So sometimes in a sketch, you know how when you do a sketch and it just looks so flowy and interesting and dynamic, but when you do the lines, or even when you do a second iteration of the sketch, you just kind of like lose that charm. And a lot of it, at least for me, is because I'm like too worried about the details without letting the details like flow, if that makes sense. Like, I'm too worried about how accurate the details are instead of just like go with it. You like trusted the process, I guess, if you had to call it something. And so what happens to me with portraits specifically is that I worry so much about the likeness that it ends up either A, not looking like them, or yes, looking like them, but the drawing is really stiff. And I think that while I was drawing these, because right now the speed paint that my editor gave me is 36 minutes. I don't know if he's gonna try and make it any shorter. And he was like, bestie, I cannot shorten this. Like, it's gonna be too fast. It's gonna be a headache for your viewers to watch it. And it already looks kind of fast. So the amount of hours I tell you that I put into these drawings and I didn't even finish them is kind of absurd. I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to make sure that I got their essence. I feel like a lot of them came out too stiff, which is one of the reasons why I put the drawings down after I finished Chunla and Jaemin. What happens is I want to be able to capture someone's essence, but also give them like the cool anime factor, you know? There's people who draw hyper realistic drawings and portraits, and there's always people in every area and genre of art. And for me specifically, I really like doing kind of like portraits where they're semi-realistic in the sense that they look realistic, but they're kind of, I guess, like semi-realistic. I just don't think that my drawings are like realistic enough to be called semi-realistic. Do you know what I mean? It's just like not entirely there. It's almost still like anime, but like not really. And that's kind of what I like, where it's like you're almost bordering on semi-realistic, but it's like not enough. So it's just like detailed cell shading. I don't know what to call it. So you'll see me struggle with that kind of line between I want to keep this fun and animated, but also not go too far into the realism where it's like uncanny kind of. And you'll see, oh my god, I make so many edits. Hee-chan is the one that I have the most trouble with. I think the top row and Chunla, which is the one that is basically complete right now, are probably the ones I found the easiest. Like I said earlier, I try to finish at least one just so I can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. Because like as you work on the other ones, you kind of notice like little things here and there to change, so you just keep going back to that one drawing, especially since it's on the screen. And to be quite honest, I'm very happy about it, because I feel like if I would have closed the Chunla, then I wouldn't been able to see the quote-unquote mistakes that were there had I not left it open. I would have just been like, oh, whatever, it's done. But having it constantly there on the screen while I'm working on other things, it's almost like I'm refreshing my eyes, and then I can come back to it. with Ranjan here, I absolutely loved his hair color and his hairstyle and the little piercings, the little fake piercings that they put on his face, and his jacket. Like, I loved like the paint splatters and everything. The issue that I had with him was making it look like him, but like I just didn't know like how his face functioned at that angle. So when I draw people, normally when I do portraits, I don't like to like copy a picture. So what I'll do is I'll collect a bunch of references of their face at different angles, what their eyes look like at different angles, their mouths, what they look like when they're smiling, their teeth. And obviously if I more or less like know what the person's like, so if I've watched the content before, it helps a lot. Like if I know their personality, it's easier for me to draw them and come up with something that's believable. And one of my weaknesses is like sometimes my head cannot process like shapes in space. And so Ranjan's face at that angle was giving me so much trouble, and you'll see that with Haechan as well. If you're watching this and you have no idea who the names are and what people they belong to, I'm so sorry if you're trying to follow along with the commentary, because I don't even know how to make this easier for you. But yeah, Haechan is the one in the bottom right, the one that's like incomplete, where the angle is bottom to top next to Chunla, and then Ranjan is the one with the pink hair. So those two, because of the face angle, I was having a lot of trouble, and I got really demotivated. Like working on those two really made me super nervous and made me question almost the entire purpose of all these drawings, because I was like, I can't even get them to look like themselves. Why am I even doing this? This is awful. Oh my goodness. And so that's why you'll see me like move on to the other ones. I kind of just left Ranjan there. I was like, if I figure out his face later, then so be it. So you'll see me here working on Jisung. Jeno is another one that I had a lot of trouble with, and Jeno is the one with the little cross on his face. The reason that I had trouble with him is, if you know anything about NCT Dream, Jeno is like very popular for his smile. He has a very pure smile, but he also looks really cool. Like he looks badass. He's like a wholesome Chad, I guess, if you want to like label it something. And I didn't want him to look like a Chad, but with like emptiness behind his eyes. You know what I'm saying? So I was tweaking his face so much because I didn't just want him to look cool. Like I wanted him to look cool in like a wholesome way. You'll see me also mess with his face a lot. Him, Haechan, and Ranjan made this drawing insufferable. I enjoyed it, trust me, no, I enjoyed it. I say insufferable in the most loving way possible, okay? When I tell you that Haechan, the one I'm working on right now, this one, oh my god, I'm suffering. I'm having war flashbacks from just looking at this, because I vividly remember, like if it was yesterday, just being there and editing this, like the amount of times that I changed the angle, the rotation, the foreshortening, oh my god, what a nightmare. And honestly, coming back to it a year later, even though I remember it, like I remember the trauma like it was yesterday, seeing the process a year later, not only is it like, it's bad, but it's not as bad as I thought. You know what I mean? Like now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, Like, yeah, definitely it needs some changing, but it's like not that bad. Like like I could tweak it and fix it for sure now. I feel like I'd be more comfortable to do that, but it's not like as bad as it felt in the moment. That's definitely one of the things that I think happens when you work on a piece for too long, too many days in a row. And it's why your eyes always need to refresh, which I know there's a lot of people that ask me like, oh, why do you like mirror the canvas? Yes, there's many functionalities for why you do that. Like one of them being sometimes it's easier to do a certain stroke when you just mirror it. Like it's more comfortable for your hand to do it. But that's definitely one of the things and reasons that people do it is to refresh your eyes. Because sometimes you stare at something long enough and your eyes will get used to it. And then when you mirror it, you get the lopsided eyes. That honestly, I applaud every artist that doesn't need to do that, because even with my traditional piece, I carry around like a small mirror. Like when I carry around my art stuff, I have a small mirror so that I can like mirror my traditional pieces as well. Because when I tell you that shit, my eyes adjust so fast. And that's not even like, oh, weird flex, bro. No. Like, I hate it. I'm just like, oh, this looks fine. Like a minute into the drawing, this is fine. Everything is fine. And then I mirror it and nothing is fine ever. So drawing without being able to flip or see the reverse is my biggest nightmare. My biggest nightmare is that. You'll see me kind of go and try to tweak it here and there, and I get so far too. Like honestly, I'm really proud of the coloring. Like I feel like I did such a good job with honestly, I kind of did something, But the anatomy and the likeness of Ranjan, I think Ranjan's likeness is a little bit closer than Haechan. Haechan was just, because it wasn't just the likeness of his face, it was also the color of his skin. Because Haechan isn't white. Haechan is brown. Haechan is tan. And so I feel like I wasn't getting like the right tan, because it's more like olivey white, but like still kind of some warm undertones. And also the fact that he's in dark lighting in this drawing was not giving what it was supposed to give, So that was definitely a problem. But looking at them all together now, a year later, and seeing the coloring, I really do want to finish them. I feel like I was definitely doing something with this. I feel like at some point I'll finish it. Maybe after the hot sauce ones, if I even finish the hot sauce ones. I'm working on them now and I'm kind of overwhelmed. I don't even think they'll look better than these a year later and I get worse at drawing. Oh God. Retire now, please. The one thing I will say about this comeback is that the outfits are universally good. If you don't know anything about K-pop, usually for comebacks, which is when artists make a new song, it's called like a comeback. Like they're coming back with like a song, a new release. And what they'll do is they'll have several outfits for one comeback. So it's like themes within one song, and they'll have different outfits for that same song. For this comeback, each set of outfits was really good. Like I almost had no complaints for any of the people, because you'll be like, oh, like sometimes this person will look good in these outfits, but like the other person just doesn't. Like You know what I mean? Like they just don't look that good. So I was able to draw everyone in the outfit for like one set. So like if you go watch the music video, like these are the outfits from the music video and they all like look nice together. But for the hot sauce ones, if you guys watch that music video, the sets of outfits are really, really different. But not everyone, at least in my opinion, looks like quote unquote like good in the outfits. So I basically like mix and match. Like I pick different outfits for each person, but they're not from the same set. Does that make sense? So there's like the red and black outfits from hot sauce, and then there's like the kind of like boho, like borderline like Hispanic, you know, type outfits. And then you have the it's called, I think, the boring version, because there's 3 different versions of the album with different outfits, and it's like a laid back kind of like set of outfits. So you have like, and then you have like the crazy you have like a bunch of different versions, and none of the versions really look that good together. So I don't really know how those I have no idea how those wallpapers are gonna come out, even if they're even gonna come out. So honestly, don't even take my word on that. I'm telling you that I'm working on them, but if I never post anything, it's because they didn't come out good. So just a heads up. I'm trying, but I can't promise anything. Back to what's happening on screen, the atrocity that is Jeno's face right now. Do you see this? Are you seeing this? So one of the things that I really liked with Jeno for this comeback was, one, the jacket. The jacket is just so cool, and the makeup that they did, and the little like cross thing. But the hair I like, but I couldn't draw it right. So you'll see here kind of the issue that I was having earlier was that I wanted to make him look cool. I'm bad at shapes, so his hair isn't coming out right. Nothing just looks right. The expression is empty. It doesn't look like him. The hair is just not right at all. Like it just looks like a different person. So you'll see me here going back to that, and then you'll see me going back to Hichan as well, warping, moving, editing. And at this point, I'm doing it on an entirely new layer. I'm going back, I'm fixing bone structures. And once I start working on a completely different layer where it's not even like, I don't even care about line art anymore, I'm just painting on top, that's when I know things are tough. Any of you that work with lines, and then those of you that don't work with lines, you'll probably relate to the opposite things. So those of you that work with lines, and I've actually talked about this process with my big illustrations, where all my illustrations are broken down by an insane amount of layers. And then once I get to the end, I merge it all. Obviously I'll create a copy and then I'll merge it all and then work on that to like finalize the piece all on one layer. What happens is that when you're making changes and your piece is really, really layered, it's extra exhausting, because if you want to change the lines, like for example, you want to change the shape of something, you have to go to the line layer, and mind you, if you have several line art layers, you have to find the correct one, change it, then you have to go to the color layer, change that, the shadows, this, and it's exhausting. So sometimes what I'll do is like, I go ahead and I finish the thing as close as I can, and then I just work on like one layer. So you'll see with Ranjan, with Jeno, with Hechan, and Chunla, I pretty much do that where they were pretty much close to being done. So I just start working on one layer on top of that to remove the stress of having to go back to each individual layer and then change it. I guess that's where I was going with that, is that you'll see me just work on top and I'm just like painting. It's like at this point I'm painting, like I'm not really, doing lines and any of that. So maybe those of you that don't do lines can relate to that, because you just just do everything on one layer, so you don't even have to worry about that. And then people that do layers, let me know down below if that happens to you. The stress of having to fix a part of the painting and then having to find the layer, fix the other layers attached to it, you know, very exhausting process. Here you'll see kind of all of the pieces coming together, because now with the Jisung, which is on top of Chunla, that didn't sound right. The Jisung drawing is above the Chunla drawing, is now kind of sample colored in, then you can kind of see all of the pieces coming together. And to be quite honest, this is one thing that I'm kind of sad about with the hot sauce ones, because the hot sauce ones, they're still in the sketch phase and they don't feel or look as cohesive as these, because these are like all one set of outfits and one general mood. One of my favorite things about these types of like wallpaper series is that they all look like they belong together. Like if you put them all side by side, they look like one theme, like one group of wallpapers. Here you'll see that I pulled the Chunla into a different document because the document that I was working on was extremely large, and this was a year ago. So I actually did not know about smart objects. If you don't know what a smart object is, you can basically make a layer or a group or something in your current document a different document. So if you double click it, if you make something a smart object and you double click it, it'll open it as a new document. And that allows you, if your file is too big, it'll allow you to work on it in a separate, like, quote unquote new document, so that it's easier for your computer to handle, or for you if you just want to work on that area. So here, ideally, I would have just made each wallpaper its own smart object, so that way I could work on it individually. But I didn't learn about smart objects until this year. So normally before this year, what I would do is I would make like I would put SML next to a copy of the PSD of the original one, and it was basically like a cropped version, or of like just one that I would dump work in, like just the work, like the layers specifically that I wanted to work on, and then copy paste it or duplicate it onto the main PSD. So too much extra work. Basically what I have here, this file is just called, I think the file is called like Dreamies, and then this one is like Dreamies SML. You'll see that it's literally just the size of the wallpaper, and it's got like the top and the bottom. I tried to put like their signatures at the top. I tried to be fancy, and then I put like the NCT Dream like reload logo at the bottom, which in the end, honestly, I just took them out. I took the signature and the logo out because it just didn't look good. I thought it looked kind of cheesy. Then you'll see here that I bring in Renjin to see if I could just fix him. I was kind of frustrated, and I think around here is where I start giving up on this piece, because at this point I'm almost done with Jimin. I've finished Chunla, and you know when you do all the easy things first and you get that momentum and you're like, yes, like I'm doing it, like I'm doing the thing. And then once you're done with the easy things, then you have to tackle the hard things, and like the reality of life hits you all at once. Except here, the easy things were only two out of 6. So once I finished Chunla and Jaemin, I saw the life like drain out of me almost immediately. And also I was running out of time. Like there's only so much time that I can take out to do this. I remember how many days did I work on this like straight? I think it was like a week or something. Like I just looped the album for like a week and just did this, but I was like, okay, like I have to go back to work. Like I can't be doing this. Oh God, look at how much I edited this. Oh my God. Girl, no. This is what do you see? This is what frustration looks like. Do you see this? The funny thing is like, it's been a long time and I've kind of like, I remember it like it was yesterday, but also seeing it is like, I remember it on a new level. Cause I remember this, but just seeing it again in real, like not in real time, but just seeing it in front of me is like a different kind of remembering. I'm like, oh my God, I really did struggle with this one a lot. Oh, baby girl. And then I go from Ranjin on to Haechan. Oh, Lord. I don't know what crack I was on. Maybe I really thought that if I just did those two and I got over that hump, then Jeno and Jisung would just be easier. Because out of those 4, Haechan and Ranjin were the ones giving me the most trouble. Jisung and Jeno would have been, you know, pretty smooth sailing compared to these. So I think that was my thought process at the time. I was like, if I could just finish these 2, if I could just do that, everything will be fine. The Jeno one, I'm not quite sure how I feel about the change. To a certain extent, I'm actually really happy with it. He doesn't look as cool as I wanted him to, but he looks very wholesome, which honestly, I will take. All right, that was a monster of a video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully it wasn't too long. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. Part 1. So if I ever finish this, I will let you guys know. Let me know if you want me to finish it down below if it's not too late. If you haven't listened to this song, Ride In by NCT Dream, if you haven't listened to Hot Sauce, which we talk about by NCT Dream as well, go listen to them. I'll put the links down in the description below. You won't regret it, I promise. And go listen to NCT. You also won't regret that, I promise. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, join the Nibby family. The more, the merrier. And I will see you guys next video. Bye.